The alarm screamed through the quiet halls of Monitoring Station Horizon. Captain Jake Morrison rolled out of his bunk and grabbed his uniform. He had been sleeping for only 3 hours after a long shift watching the empty space between stars. The station floated alone in the dark, far from Earth and far from any other human outpost. Jake ran down the metal corridor. His boots made loud sounds on the floor. The station was small, with only 12 people living on it. Their job was simple but important. They listened to space and watched for signals that might mean trouble for Earth. Lieutenant Amy Carter sat at her desk in the communications room. Her face was pale, and her hands shook as she worked at her computer. She had been the one to sound the alarm. Next to her, 3 screens showed waves of light and numbers that most people could not understand. "What do we have, Amy?" Jake asked as he entered the room. Amy looked up at him with wide eyes. "Captain, we got a signal on the old emergency channel, the one that nobody uses anymore. The signal is weak, but it has been running for months." Jake walked over to her station. The emergency channel was something left over from the early days of space travel. Most ships and stations did not even monitor it anymore. It was like having a radio that could only pick up one very old station. "Can you clean up the signal?" Jake asked. Amy worked at her controls. The speakers filled with static and noise. Then slowly a voice came through. It was speaking in a language that the computer did not know. But there was something in the voice that made Jake feel cold inside. It sounded scared and tired and hopeless. "Computer, run translation protocol," Amy said. The machine worked for several minutes. Then new words appeared on the screen. Jake read them out loud. "To any who receive this transmission, we are the Kepler Coalition. Our worlds burn. Our people die. We have tried negotiation. We have tried surrender, but the Vorth Empire shows no mercy. We send this plea to the cosmos itself. Help us." The room became very quiet. Jake read the words again. Amy stared at the screen like she could not believe what she was seeing. "How long has this been broadcasting?" Jake asked. "Computer says 3 months, sir. The signal has been bouncing from relay station to relay station. It has traveled through dozens of star systems." Jake felt something heavy settle in his stomach. 3 months. These people, whoever they were, had been calling for help for 3 months, and nobody had answered. "Do we have any information about these coalition people?" Jake asked. Amy worked at her computer again. Computer shows some old trade records. The Kepler Coalition is made up of 5 different alien species. They live about 40 light years from here. The records say they are peaceful. They make art and medicine. They have never been in any wars. Jake looked at the translation again. The words were simple, but they told a terrible story. Someone called the Vorth Empire was killing these peaceful people, and they had tried to surrender, but it did not work. Commander Ryan Bell entered the communications room. He was a big man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been in the human space navy for 30 years. He knew about wars and fighting, and what happened when bad people got too much power. "I heard the alarm," Ryan said. "What is the situation?" Jake showed him the message. Ryan read it twice. His face became hard like stone. "Do we know anything about this Vorth Empire?" Ryan asked. Amy brought up new information on her screen. "Not much, sir. Some old reports from trading ships. The Vorth are a military people. They have been taking over star systems for many years. The reports say they are very strong and very cruel." Ryan studied the information. "How many systems have they taken?" "The computer estimates 47 systems in the last 100 years, sir." Jake felt sick. 47 systems meant billions of people. Maybe more. And now they were attacking these coalition people who had never hurt anyone. "Sir," Amy said quietly, "there is something else. The computer analyzed the signal path. Nobody has responded to their call. Not anyone. They have been asking for help for 3 months, and the galaxy has stayed silent. Jake looked at the message on the screen again. He thought about the person who had sent it, probably sitting in some dark room on a dying world, sending the same message over and over, hoping that someone, somewhere, would care enough to help. What are our orders regarding situations like this? Jake asked Ryan. Ryan was quiet for a long moment. Officially, we are supposed to report any unusual signals to Earth Command and wait for instructions. That would take about 6 weeks for the message to reach Earth and 6 weeks for orders to come back. And unofficially? Jake asked. Ryan looked at him with serious eyes. 12 weeks is a long time when people are dying. Jake understood. By the time Earth Command made a decision, there might not be anyone left to save. The Coalition people could all be dead. Their worlds could be empty ruins. He thought about his duty as a human officer. He thought about the oath he had taken to protect innocent life. He thought about what his father would have done. His father had fought in the war against the pirates in the Centauri system. He had always said that sometimes you have to act fast when people need help. Amy, can we send a message back along the same signal path? Jake asked. Yes, sir. It would take about 2 weeks to reach them. Jake looked at Ryan. The older man nodded. Slowly. Do it, Jake said. Send them a message. Amy prepared her equipment. What should I say, sir? Jake thought for a moment. The Coalition people were scared and alone. They needed to know that someone had heard them. They needed hope. Tell them this. Kepler Coalition, this is the Terran Federation. Your message has been received. Help is coming. Amy typed the words and sent the signal into space. Jake watched. The transmission light blinked green. Somewhere, 40 light years away, people who had given up hope would soon learn that they were not alone. But as Jake looked at the information about the Vorth Empire, he wondered what kind of help humanity could really provide. The Vorth had been conquering systems for 100 years. They had big fleets and powerful weapons. Humans were still new to space. They had never fought a real war among the stars. Still, Jake had made his choice. He had promised help to people who needed it. Now he had to figure out how to keep that promise, even if it meant starting the first interstellar war in human history. Admiral Lisa Parker stood in her office on Luna Base and stared at the message on her screen. She had read it 5 times, but the words still seemed impossible. A monitoring station captain had just committed humanity to an interstellar war without any authority to do so. The door to her office opened, and General Robert Hayes walked in. He was the head of military intelligence, and his face looked very serious. Behind him came Dr. Patricia Mills, the chief scientist for alien affairs. Have you seen the report from Horizon Station? General Hayes asked. Lisa nodded and pointed to her screen. Captain Morrison sent a promise of help to an alien coalition under attack. He had no right to speak for all of humanity. But the attack footage is real, Dr. Mills said quietly. She activated a wall screen and showed images that had come with the coalition message. Cities burning from space. Ships full of refugees being destroyed. Bodies floating in the darkness between planets. Lisa looked at the terrible pictures. She had been a soldier for 25 years. She had seen war before, but this was different. This was not soldiers fighting soldiers. This was the murder of entire civilizations. How many people are we talking about? Lisa asked. Dr. Mills worked at her computer. The Kepler Coalition has 14 worlds with a total population of about 8 billion people. 5 different species living together peacefully for over 200 years. And the enemy? General Hayes brought up new information. The Vorth Empire. They have been expanding for a century. Our intelligence shows they have massive fleets and advanced weapons. They do not take prisoners. They do not make peace treaties. They conquer and they kill. Lisa studied the data. The Vorth had 47 conquered systems. Their military was huge and experienced. Humanity had been in space for only 50 years. Human ships were smaller and carried fewer weapons. What are our chances in a direct fight? Lisa asked. General Hayes was quiet for a moment. Unknown. We have never fought a war like this. Our ships are fast and our crews are well trained. But the Vorth have numbers and experience. Lisa walked to her window and looked out at Earth below, blue and white and beautiful. Safe for now. But if humanity got involved in this war, that might change. The Vorth might decide that Earth needed to be conquered too. Her communication system beeped. Admiral, the President is calling. Lisa accepted the call. President Carol Johnson appeared on her screen. She looked tired and worried. Lisa, I have been reading the reports. Tell me this is not as bad as it looks. It is worse, Madam President. The coalition is being wiped out. Captain Morrison promised them help. If we do nothing, we look weak to every hostile power in the galaxy. The President was quiet for a long time. But if we fight, we could lose everything. Earth could become a target. Lisa understood the fear, but she also understood something else. Madam President, if we let this happen and do nothing, what does that say about humanity? When innocent people ask for help, and we turn away because we are afraid, Dr. Mills stepped forward. There is something else. The coalition has technology we need. Medical advances, energy systems, agricultural methods. If they survive, they would share these things with us. If they die, that knowledge dies with them. General Hayes added more information. Our analysis shows the Vorth will not stop with the coalition. They are expanding in our direction. In 10 years, maybe 20, they will reach human space anyway. It might be better to fight them now, while we have allies. Lisa thought about all the possibilities. Fight now with help, or fight later alone. Save innocent people, or watch them die. Risk everything or hide, and hope the danger would pass. How long would it take to assemble a fleet? Lisa asked. General Hayes smiled for the first time. I already started the process. Every available ship is being prepared. We can have 47 warships ready in 72 hours. Lisa looked at him with surprise. You were that sure I would say yes? I know you, Admiral. You have never run from a fight when innocent people needed help. Lisa turned back to the E. President. Madam President, I need authorization to deploy the fleet. President Johnson closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were hard with determination. You have it. But Lisa, understand this. If you take our fleet into that war, there is no coming back. Whatever happens next will change humanity forever. I understand. 3 days later, Lisa stood on the bridge of the TFS Defiance as the largest human fleet ever assembled moved through hyperspace toward coalition territory. 47 ships, including 12 heavy cruisers, 8 carriers, and the new experimental dreadnought TFS Liberty. Captain Dan Russell had already left with the advance scouts. His ship, the TFS Ranger, would reach coalition space first and report on the situation. Lisa hoped they would not be too late. Admiral, her communications officer called. Message from the TFS Ranger. Lisa read the report and felt her blood turn cold. Captain Russell had found 3 coalition refugee ships drifting powerless near the border. No life signs. The ships had been stripped of supplies and left to die in space. How many people? Lisa asked quietly. Estimated 12,000, Admiral. Mostly families and children. Lisa looked at the pictures from the refugee ships, small bodies floating in dark corridors. toys and clothes scattered in empty rooms. These people had run from their homes hoping to find safety. Instead, they found death in the cold of space. "Send a message to all ships," Lisa ordered. "I want every captain to see these images. I want them to understand what we are fighting against." 2 hours later, Lisa received responses from her fleet commanders. Every single ship reported the same thing. The crews were angry. They wanted to fight. They wanted to make the Vorth pay for what they had done. Colonel Maria Santos commanded the Marine battalions on 3 of the ships. Her message was simple. "Admiral, my Marines are ready. Point us at the enemy, and we will finish this." Lisa understood how they felt. She felt the same way. These pictures showed why humanity had to fight. Not for territory or resources or political reasons. They had to fight because someone had to stand up against monsters. "Navigator, how long until we reach?" "Coalition space?" Lisa asked. 18 hours, Admiral." Lisa nodded. 18 hours until humanity entered its first interstellar war. 18 hours until everything changed forever. She looked at the pictures from the refugee ships one more time. Then she closed the file and began planning for battle. The Vorth Empire had made one terrible mistake. They had hurt innocent people where humans could see. Now they would learn what happened when humanity decided to bring war to those who deserved it. Captain Helen Brooks was drinking coffee when the alarm started screaming on her ship. The TFS Thunder was a destroyer, fast and deadly, leading a patrol group near the Theta Centauri system. Helen had been in the Space Navy for 12 years, but she had never fought a real battle. "Captain, to the bridge," came the voice over the ship speakers. Helen ran through the corridors of her ship. Around her, the crew moved quickly to their battle stations. Everyone knew this moment would come. The first contact with the enemy. The first real test of human ships against Vorth weapons. On the bridge, Lieutenant Commander Paul Green was staring at his screens. His face was pale, and his hands moved quickly over his controls. "Report," Helen ordered as she took her captains. "Chair, we have contacts, Captain. 3 Vorth ships attacking a coalition medical vessel. The medical ship is not fighting back. It has red cross markings all over it." Helen looked at her main screen. She could see the coalition ship clearly. It was white with large red medical symbols painted on its sides. It was not armed. It carried no weapons at all. But the 3 Vorth ships were firing on it anyway. Open communications with the Vorth. "Ships," Helen ordered. "Channel open, Captain." Helen stood up and spoke clearly. "Vorth vessels. This is Captain Helen Brooks of the Terran Federation Navy. You are attacking a medical ship which is against all laws of war. Stop your attack immediately and withdraw from this system." The response came quickly. But it was not words. It was plasma torpedoes. Helen watched the bright lights of enemy weapons streaking toward the coalition medical ship. The first torpedo hit the medical vessel in the middle section. The second torpedo hit near the engines. The third torpedo finished the job. The medical ship broke apart in a ball of fire and metal. Helen stared at the explosion and felt something cold and hard form in her chest. On that ship had been doctors and nurses and patients. People who helped. Others. People who saved lives. And the Vorth had murdered them all while Helen tried to talk. "Captain," her communications officer said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission from the coalition ship. It was automatic, sent before they died." Helen listened to the message. It was a simple list. 847 people had been on that medical ship. Doctors, nurses, patients, medical students. The youngest person had been 6 years old. A little girl with a broken leg. Helen looked at her crew. Every face showed the same expression. Anger. Cold, deadly anger. "Communications, send a message. To Admiral Parker, tell her that diplomacy is over. The Vorth do not want to talk. They want to kill. We will give them what they want. Helen turned to her weapons officer. All ships in the patrol group. Weapons free. No quarter asked, none given. Destroy every Vorth ship in this system. The battle lasted 17 minutes. The human ships moved like hunting wolves. The TFS Thunder led the attack with its sister. Ships Thunder Bay and Lightning following close behind. The Vorth ships were bigger and had stronger weapons. But they moved slowly, and their tactics were simple. The human ships used speed and teamwork. They hit the Vorth from different directions at the same time. When the Vorth turned to fight one human ship, the others attacked from behind. When the Vorth tried to retreat, the humans surrounded them. The first Vorth ship died when the Thunder Bay put 3 torpedoes into its engine section. The ship exploded and took 40 Vorth warriors with it. The second ship lasted longer, but fell to combined fire from all 3 human ships. The third ship tried to surrender. Captain, her communications officer reported, the last Vorth ship is sending a surrender signal. Helen looked at the broken pieces of the medical ship floating in space. She thought about the little girl with the broken leg. She thought about the 847 people who had died while she was. Trying to be diplomatic. Tell them we do not accept surrenders from people who murder medical ships, Helen said. Finish them. The last Vorth ship died in fire and darkness. Not one enemy warrior escaped to tell their commanders what had happened. Meanwhile, Admiral Lisa Parker had reached the Coalition fortress world of Haven with the main human fleet. The planet was crowded with refugees from 14 conquered worlds. Billions of people living in camps and temporary shelters. Ambassador Zella of the Coalition met with Admiral Parker in the planet's council chambers. Zella was tall and thin with blue skin and large eyes that seemed very sad. She spoke perfect English, learned from old trading contacts. Admiral Parker, we are grateful that you have come. But I must tell you honestly, the Vorth Empire is very powerful. They have conquered 47 systems. Their fleets are huge and their weapons are advanced. We do not want humanity to die trying to save us. Lisa studied the alien ambassador. Zella seemed kind and peaceful. Her people had never hurt anyone. They made art and music and medicine. They had tried to surrender to save lives, but the Vorth did not care. Ambassador Zella, I need you to understand something about humans. We did not come here to make a deal or to negotiate. We came here to end this war. The Vorth Empire made a simple mistake. They hurt innocent people where humans could see. That is not a diplomatic problem anymore. That is a war. Zella looked confused. But surely you want something in return for your help. Territory, resources, trade agreements. Lisa shook her head. We want the Vorth to stop killing innocent people. That is all. Commander Gary Hill, the fleet intelligence officer, had been studying Vorth military records provided by the Coalition. What he found was disturbing. Admiral, the Vorth do not understand mercy. Their language has no word for civilian. To them, every member of an enemy species is a combatant to be eliminated. They have never shown mercy, and they never will. Dr. Rachel Davis, the fleet's alien expert, had been working with Coalition scientists to understand Vorth psychology. Her report was even more disturbing. The Vorth see war as total elimination. They do not want to rule other species. They want to replace them. Every world they conquer becomes a Vorth world. Every person they do not kill becomes a slave until they die. Lisa processed this information. The Vorth were not just enemies. They were a plague that consumed entire civilizations. They could not be reasoned with or negotiated with. They could only be stopped. Send a message to all ship commanders, Lisa. Ordered. New rules of engagement. Any Vorth ship, station, or installation is a legitimate military target. We take no prisoners because they do not take prisoners. We show no mercy because they understand no mercy. Lisa looked out at the refugee camps covering the surface of Haven. Millions of people who had lost everything. Children who would never see their home worlds again. Families torn apart by Vorth cruelty. The choice was simple. Fight with everything humanity had, or watch an entire civilization die. Lisa had made her decision before she left Earth. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans did when innocent people needed help. The human war machine moved like lightning across Vorth space. Captain Steve Martinez led 12 fast attack ships in raids that appeared without warning and vanished before the enemy could respond. His squadron hit supply convoys, fuel depots, and communication stations. They left nothing but wreckage and silence. Steve had lost his younger brother in the attack on the medical ship at Theta Centauri. His brother had been a Navy medic serving on a coalition hospital ship. The Vorth had killed him while he was trying to save wounded civilians. Now Steve made the Vorth pay for that mistake every single day. Target acquired, reported Lieutenant Commander Nancy White from the attack ship Falcon. Vorth supply convoy, 6 ships, minimal escort. Steve looked at his tactical display. The convoy was carrying weapons and ammunition to Vorth fleets attacking coalition worlds. If those supplies reached their destination, more innocent people would die. All ships, attack formation. No survivors, no witnesses, Steve ordered. The human ships struck like sharks in dark water. They came from 3 directions at once, their weapons firing before the Vorth even knew they were under attack. The convoy escort ships died in the first 30 seconds. The supply ships lasted only slightly longer. Steve watched the enemy ships explode one by one. Each explosion meant fewer weapons for the Vorth. Each destroyed ship meant more coalition people might live. He felt no pity for the dying enemy. They had chosen this war when they decided to murder medical ships. Meanwhile, Major Karen Wright was leading Marine boarding parties against Vorth stations throughout the outer systems. Her soldiers moved through enemy ships like ghosts, taking intelligence data and leaving no one alive to report what they had found. Karen stood in the command center of a captured Vorth supply base. Around her, her Marines worked quickly to download computer files before they destroyed the station. The information they found made Karen feel sick. "Major, you need to see this," called Sergeant David Brown. He was standing at a computer terminal. With his face white as paper, Karen looked at the screen. It showed Vorth plans for the coalition worlds after conquest. The plans were detailed and horrible. Every coalition city would be destroyed. Every coalition person would be killed. The worlds would then be settled by Vorth colonists as if the original inhabitants had never existed. "How many worlds are on this list?" Karen asked. "All of them, Major. Every coalition world, plus Earth and 12 other human colonies." Karen felt cold anger flow through her body. The Vorth were not just attacking the coalition. They were planning to wipe out humanity, too. Earth was already marked for destruction on their maps. "Download everything," Karen ordered. "Then set charges and blow this place to pieces." 20 minutes later, the Vorth supply base became an expanding ball of fire in space. Karen and her Marines were already moving to their next target. General Krex stood in his command ship and stared at reports that made no sense. In 1 week, he had lost 3 entire battle groups. 45 ships and their crews had simply vanished. No distress calls, no wreckage, no survivors. His intelligence officers had no explanation. The humans appeared to be using some kind of new warfare that Vorth commanders did not understand. Human ships struck without warning and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. They took no prisoners and left no evidence. "General, we are receiving reports of attacks on 17 supply convoys in the last 48 hours. reported his aide. Krex felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. In 100 years of conquest, no enemy had ever fought the Vorth like this. Other species tried to defend their worlds and protect their people. The humans seemed to be hunting Vorth forces for sport. Order the 3rd and 7th fleets to converge on the Proxima Gate, Krex commanded. We will make our stand there. Let the humans come to us. The Proxima Gate was the main hyperspace junction that led from Coalition space to the core Vorth worlds. It was the most important strategic point in the region. If the humans wanted to threaten Vorth territory, they would have to go through the gate. Admiral Lisa Parker received intelligence reports about the Vorth fleet concentration at Proxima Gate. Her spy network, built from grateful Coalition survivors, was feeding her constant information about enemy movements. They are making their stand, Lisa told her fleet commanders during a strategy meeting. Both the 3rd and 7th fleets, plus reinforcements. Estimates put them at over 200 ships. Captain Alex Turner, commanding the heavy cruiser TFS Vengeance, studied the tactical projections. We have 47 ships, Admiral. Those are not good odds. Lisa looked around the room at her commanders. These men and women had followed her into an impossible war. They had seen the pictures of murdered Coalition civilians. They had watched Vorth ships destroy medical vessels. They understood what was at stake. The odds do not matter, Lisa said quietly. If we lose this battle, the Vorth will push into Coalition space, and then into human space. Earth will burn just like the Coalition worlds. Our families will die, just like theirs did. The battle at Proxima Gate lasted 14 hours and became the largest space battle in galactic history. 237 Vorth ships faced 47 human vessels in a fight that would determine the fate of multiple civilizations. The human ships used every advantage they had: speed, coordination, and desperate courage. They fought in small groups that supported each other. When one ship was damaged, others covered its retreat. When the enemy concentrated on one target, the other humans hit them from behind. Captain Alex Turner led the final assault on the Vorth command ship. His Marines boarded the enemy vessel while it was still fighting. They moved through the corridors like avenging angels, showing the same mercy the Vorth had shown to medical ships. Surrender, and we will spare your lives, a Vorth officer said. In broken English, as Turner's Marines reached the bridge, Turner looked at the alien warrior and remembered the images of dead Coalition children floating in space. He remembered the medical ship that had been destroyed while trying to surrender. You had your chance to surrender when you were killing hospital ships, Turner said coldly. We are past that now. When the battle ended, the 3rd and 7th Vorth fleets no longer existed. 237 enemy ships had been reduced to floating wreckage. Not a single Vorth vessel escaped to carry word back to their empire. Admiral Parker stood on the bridge of her flagship and looked at the tactical display. Green dots marked human ships. Red dots had marked Vorth ships. Now there were only green dots and the slowly expanding clouds of debris that had once been an entire enemy fleet. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we are receiving surrender offers from Vorth bases throughout this sector. Lisa thought about the Coalition refugees on Haven. She thought about the children who would never see their parents again. She thought about Earth and what the Vorth had planned for her home world. Tell them we do not accept surrenders, Lisa said. Hunt down every Vorth ship, base, and outpost in Coalition space. No quarter given, no survivors left. 6 months later, the Vorth threat to Coalition space had been completely eliminated. Human patrol ships watched the borders to make sure no enemy forces returned. The few Vorth survivors had fled back to their core worlds, carrying stories of the terrible humans who answered mercy with war. Ambassador Zella stood with Admiral Parker on the observation deck of Haven Station. Below them, Coalition refugees were boarding ships to return to their home worlds. The war was over, and they could rebuild their lives. "Admiral, how can we ever repay humanity for what you have done?" Zella asked. Lisa watched the ships carrying families back to worlds they thought they would never see again. Just remember that when someone calls for help, you answer. That is what civilized people do. Zella nodded slowly. The galaxy will remember what happened here. They will remember that humanity brought justice when it was needed most. Lisa looked out at the stars. Somewhere in that darkness, other civilizations might be facing the same choice the Coalition had faced. Someone would need to stand up to bullies and monsters. Someone would need to bring war to those who deserved it. Humanity had taken its place. Among the stars, not as explorers or traders, but as the species that answered desperate calls for help with overwhelming force. The age of gentle diplomacy was over. In its place was a simple understanding that would echo through the galaxy for generations. Hurt innocent people where humans can see and face the consequences.